This video will go over methods and procedures for starting up a 3-wire, single-phase grinder pump with a control panel. A 3-wire grinder pump requires the capacitor kit to be wired into the control panel. Warning: only qualified licensed personnel should perform actual tests and wiring on the control panel and grinder pump wiring. Shock hazards may lead to injury or death. A capacitor kit that is wired into a control panel will consist of 3 components: start capacitor, run capacitor, and a start relay. Each grinder pump manufacturer calls out the specifications of each component of the capacitor kit and is engineered specifically for the pump they are designed for. It is critical to understand that a 3-wire grinder pump installation with a control panel that has capacitor kits is our industry's most complex installation. Why do we say this? The reason is twofold. 1. The pump manufacturers do not standardize on wire colors for the common, main, and start windings, so they may not be wired to the correct terminals in the panel. 2. Human error in wiring the capacitor kits in the panel or wrong components used. If the pump wires are not connected to the proper terminals in the control panel, or if the capacitor kits are miswired or have the wrong capacitor kit components, the pump will draw significantly high amperage that damages both the pump and the control panel. Unfortunately, it is sometimes human nature to ignore the high amperage and just reset the overloads or reset the circuit breaker in hopes the problem goes away. If we understand these pitfalls and we learn how to properly perform a pump system startup, then we can eliminate costly repairs and downtime. Follow these steps for a successful single-phase 3-wire grinder pump system startup. 1. Identify the pump's color scheme for identifying common, main, and start windings. 2. Identify the control panel terminals for connecting the common, main, and start windings. 3. Wire correctly the pump windings to the control panel terminals, which have been properly identified for the common, main, and run windings. 4. Using a clamp on amp meter, when ready, run the pump in hand mode for only 2 seconds, which is enough time to get an amperage reading to determine if wiring of the pump to panel is successful. Step 1. Identify pump colors for identifying common, main, and start windings. Some pump manufacturers will call out, for example, black equals common winding, white equals main winding, and red equals start winding, and will also give the ohm values of each winding that helps with installation and troubleshooting. Other pump manufacturers may show a wiring diagram showing how the capacitor kits are wired to which color pump wires, but make no mention which wire color is the common, main, and start windings. First, check the pump's owner's manual, and if they specifically call out the winding color with the associated winding, then you can proceed to connect these wires to the control panel. Second, if owner's manual is unclear, then call the pump manufacturer's technical support group and ask specifically which pump winding color is associated with the common, main, and start windings. Third, if the pump manufacturer's owner's manual shows a wiring capacitor kit diagram and shows pump wire colors connected in the wiring diagram, then you can determine the windings. The common winding will connect to terminal 5 on the motor start relay. The start winding will connect to terminal 2 of the motor start relay. Whichever winding is not connected to the motor start relay is the main winding. It is a good idea to perform the ohm meter test shown in another video to verify the identification of common, main, and start windings. Step 2. Identify the control panel pump terminals for connection of the common, main, and start windings. View the control panel's schematic either pasted on the inside door or provided in paper form. Find the pump electrical symbol that will have dashed lines connected to terminal blocks. These terminal blocks should be marked for common, main, and start windings. If only colors are shown, simply follow the wire from the pump terminal block, and as previously mentioned, the wire that goes to motor start relay terminal 5 is the common winding, while the wire connecting to motor start relay terminal 2 is the start winding, and the main winding is not connected to any terminal of the motor start relay. Step 3. Now that we have confirmed the pump wire colors with each associated winding and also have identified the correct pump winding terminal blocks in the control panel, then wire the pump correctly to the control panel. Step 4. We are now ready to power up the pump for a 2-second run test using a clamp on digital amp meter. First, to connect power to the control panel and turn on pump control and alarm breaker if they are provided, and the pump circuit breaker. Place the amp meter on the main winding of the pump that is connected to the terminal block that is marked main, which is inside the control panel. In this hypothetical example, let's say we have a 2-horsepower pump with 15 full load amps, as shown on the pump's nameplate or in the pump's owner's manual. Note, full load amps will be higher for high horsepower pumps. The main point is that the amp reading from the 2-second test should not exceed the full load amps of the pump being tested. Second, place the HOA switch to hand for 2 seconds and note the amp reading. After 2 seconds, place the HOA switch to off to stop the pump. Third, determine result of the amp reading. If the amps are less than 15, then the system can be further evaluated by filling the tank with water and running the system longer. If the pump is pumping water and the amps remain under 15 while running longer, then congratulations. You have successfully wired the pump to the panel correctly. If the amps jumped significantly higher than 15, say 30 or 40 amps, and the pump hums, then stop immediately and do not try to restart the pump, as troubleshooting must correct the problem. Retrying without fixing the problem will only lead to pump and panel failure. In another video, we can show how to troubleshoot the control panel. In conclusion, properly identify the pump's color scheme associated with the common, main, and start windings, and connect to the corresponding properly labeled common, main, and start winding in the control panel. Perform 2-second run tests to verify system is wired correctly. Thanks for watching.